Reading comprehension instruction shows students how to think about a text in various ways. These comprehension strategies include teaching them how to retell and summarize the author's ideas, how to determine the main idea of a passage, how to visualize author ideas, and even question and evaluate the author's choices. We then teach students to make connections during and after reading within that text and among others, and how to synthesize bigger ideas after reading. Each of these comprehension strategies is taught via a mini lesson, meaning it's delivered in a short, small, specific, and focused instructional time. We don't teach visualization in 15 minutes. Rather, we deliver numerous mini lessons across the year that target the subskills of visualization. For example, my first lesson to students might be about the power of nouns in a reading passage. When you read a noun, it creates a mental picture in the reader's mind. I say dog, we all see a dog in our mind. A follow-up lesson would be to talk about the power of adjectives to fine-tune our visualizations. If the text says small white dog, our picture changes. If it says large spotted dog, it changes again. And what about the idea of a scared and injured dog? The power of adjectives is a different lesson than the power of nouns in visualization. There's still another lesson to support students' ability to visualize, and that is to talk about the verbs. Did the dog mosey or scamper or limp across the alley? Again, these different parts of speech all require different mini lessons. So what we need to do is identify the smaller subskills that ultimately lead to each of these comprehension strategies. Let me share with you a suggested list. Some of the subskills that students need in order to retell or summarize include first being able to identify the important from unimportant information in a passage. Then they have to be able to just summarize the highlights, just the most important. They have to be able to do this in part of a text, and then a whole text, and then a much longer text. Now, those are just lessons to support retelling and summarization. How do we help students determine the main idea? Well, that's a different set of subskills. First, they have to know the difference between the topic and a main idea. They also have to be able to discern the difference between a summary and a single main idea sentence. We move them to be able to determine the main idea of a short text and then the main idea of a longer text. How about multiple main ideas? Do you see what I mean by subskills? You don't teach main idea. There's way too much to it. We have to teach small, focused mini lessons. We have to layer their knowledge. That's the notion of scaffolding our comprehension instruction. Let's look at visualization next. After students know how to create visualizations based on nouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs, then they have to be able to see and juggle numerous pictures in their mind simultaneously. And it's not always something that is literal or concrete that they create a picture for. Sometimes it's imagery or figurative language. There's a whole variety of teaching students how to question, predict, and evaluate author choices. They include a series of lessons on generating before reading questions, during reading questions, and even answering our questions by the time we're done. We want students to really think about author intentions. While we're working on each of these subskills and building students' ability to comprehend a passage in a variety of ways, we also have to remember they need experience applying this thinking to literature and informational text. In other words, all of these strategies, all of these mini lessons must be applied first to a fictional text and then to a more difficult nonfiction text. The skills, the lessons, the application is just a little different in a different type of text. So we want to give students that kind of experience too. Throughout the year, students also need mini lesson instruction on how to make connections. And this is going to require some instruction on background knowledge. What is it? How do you activate it? How do you build it? Those are separate lessons. Then we teach them how to juggle numerous connections simultaneously and ultimately make comparisons across different texts. Scaffolding instruction on teaching students how to synthesize may begin first with the notion of thinking like other people and then thinking like the author. Now they're ready to think individually. What are new to you discoveries? Any synthesis should be able to be traced and presented in writing and supported with evidence. So when planning and delivering each comprehension lesson, first tell the students which strategy you want to target, but then explain the small subskill that is actually the focus of your instruction.